All right, so in this video, we're checking out the CTOLITY AP400 portable power station. And if you're looking for a budget model and kind of a smaller size with this capacity, which is 345 watt hours, this is a pretty good value, at least for now in early 2026. So in the box, you get the power station. As you can see here, we'll talk about that, of course. You get a small user's manual, and you get two cables. So you get the AC charging cable, which is this one here. So this side plugs in right over here to charge, and then this goes into the wall, and it does charge at up to 155 watts. So roughly 2.5 hours to charge from 0 to empty on AC power. And you also get a car charging cable. So you plug this into your car cigarette lighter port on your car, and then the other side has a barrel connector. This is a 5525 barrel connector, which is the one right over here in the front. And you can also use this port to charge via solar as well. So we'll take a look around the whole power station here. It's approximately 10 inches wide and approximately 7 inches by 7 inches in height and depth. Over here in this, you got a small ventilation fan port. Got a handle here on top. You have wireless charging here on top. I'll show you that here in a second for your phones. On the back, you've got this light. Go and turn it on. There's a different brightness levels and the SOS mode, and a strobe mode. On this side again, another small ventilation fan port. So on the bottom here, you got 4 rubber feet, and here are the specs for this model. So it's a nominal 19.2 volts at 18 amp hours, giving you a total of 345 watt hours. I will talk about the capacity test here shortly. The AC ports put out 500 watts and does burst up to 1,000 watts for a very short amount of time. The DC output is 12 volts at 100 up to 120 watts. The USB-C power delivery port is 22.5 watts, and then the USB-A ports are, I think it's up to 18 watts max. It's quick charge 3.0. The chemistry in here is LFP, and again the AC input is up to 150 watts, but I did see 155 watts on the display. DC input is also up to 150 watts, so you can do up to 150 watts of solar, as you can see here. And the voltage range on your solar panels need to be between 12 volts and 26 volts. The car charging is 12 volts up to 8 amps or 100 watts max. The power station weighs 5 kilograms or about 11 pounds. Okay, so here are all the ports in the front, and here's the USB-C port. The only USB-C port on here, and it's only up to 22.5 watts. I believe out of everything in terms of what you get in terms of value from this power station, I would have liked to have seen something like 65 watts for something of this capacity. That's what you would typically find. But the cost of this is quite a bit less than what you would find in this size compared to others on the markets. If you are looking for 65 or higher watt charging out of a USB-C port on power delivery, what you can do as an alternative, if you do decide to get this, is you can use one of those car charging 12 volts adapters and put them in here, and those go up to like 140 watts and above, because it just does a conversion on this 12 volts here up to, I think that's up to, actually this port will output up to 120 watts max. So probably like 100 watt car charger adapter in here for USB-C is probably the most you can get. But if you want more than 22.5 volts, just get one of those and you should be good to go. The USB-A ports here, quick charge 3.0, so these are all up to 18 watts. And I did try and max this out with all my devices, power banks, drones, other batteries. And yeah, it does power all 4 of them altogether, no problem. Just keep in mind that the limits are 22.5 watts, 18 watts on each of the USB-A ports. Here's the AC inverter. You just press this button to turn it on. And you get little indications here on the display as to what is currently powered on. So you have the DC, USB-A, USB-C, and the secret lighter port, which is here, which is all active, and you just turn them off by just long pressing the button. That turns it off. That turns the DC off and turns the power station off. Turn back on. All right, we'll go and turn everything back on again, and then to turn on the USB, you just long press the button. It turns on the USB A and USB C. So if you don't want these powered on, or you don't want any kind of like phantom drain, you can just power those ports off. And especially for the AC inverter, if you have the AC inverter on, as you can see here, that does draw a small amount of power. So if you aren't using the AC ports, you should power this off. Now in my testing of the AC ports, it does do the 500 watts pretty much consistently, no problem. If you go over the 500 watts, the overcurrent protection will kick in after, it depends on the amount of current draw, of course. So I tried a vacuum cleaner at, I think it was 1200 watts, and it pretty much turned it off right away. That's too much for this small power station. But, you know, those are those devices that are going to use 500 watts and under, you know, with some burst current, this power station should be able to handle it without any issue. Also worth noting is that this inverter does support pass-through power. So if you are charging the power station here on the AC port and getting the 155 watts in, and you're powering stuff on the AC ports over here on the inverter, it passes through that power. So it doesn't show any output power on here coming out of these ports. It just passes the wall power coming in here. So if your wall power can support up to say like 1000 watts, 155 watts will go into charging the power station, and then the rest goes to the AC ports and passes through that current to the AC ports and just passes through that power. Also, you can use this as a UPS or battery backup. That will just do a 10 millisecond or less switchover. So if you have devices and you want to use this as a battery backup on, like, say, some sort of desktop PC or some other devices where you need power when there's like a power outage, for example, on the grid, this does support that. So the power just passes through, and then when there is grid failure and you have a power or a blackout, it detects that the AC is dead. It just switches over to the internal battery within 10 milliseconds. All right, just a quick demo of the wireless charging pad here on top. If you have a phone that supports wireless charging, we just stick it up on top here. And there we go. It looks like it's charging, no problem. And taking a close look at the display, you have your basic capacity here, what's left in terms of how much capacity in the battery, time to empty. So right now there's no draw, so the time to empty is a little bit, basically it'll last a really long time. So if you have a power draw in here, then say a few watts, like say like 25 watts, for example, they'll give you an estimated run to empty. Also, if you're charging the power station, it will give you a time to full as well, in terms of like the amount of power that's coming in. Obviously, the more power that's coming in, the faster it'll charge. So I think AC is the fastest, 155 watts is what I saw. If you have solar at something less, then the time to charge is going to be a little bit more. And I did, of course, do my solar charging test on this, and you just plug it into the 5525 port here in the front. So depending on what solar panel you're using, most solar panels should have that barrel connector, or at least an adapter. If not, then you'll have to source your own adapter. But for the most part, most of the solar panels that I've had support this barrel connector. You just plug it right in. But do note that your solar panel cannot exceed the 26 volts. Most it's like 100 watt to 150 watt solar panels that you're going to want to use with this power station are going to be around 18 volts. So it should be fine with this power station, but check the specs on your solar panel. I did do a full capacity test, of course, with all my power stations. I ran my little capacity meter here. Basically just puts a standard current draw on the power station at a certain voltage. It just draws down the battery from 100% to 0%. And in my case, I got about 319 watt hours. The advertised capacity on this is 345 watt hours. So it basically gave me about an efficiency rating of around 92%, a little over 92%, which is pretty good for this size. Typically, if you get anything above 80 to 85%, that's generally speaking pretty good, because the inside the power station does a DC-DC conversion from the 19 volts nominal inside to the 12 volts that's coming out of the 12 volts port here in the front. So you're going to have a little bit of losses from that conversion. So 92% is pretty efficient. And just a quick note on the capacity of this particular power station at 345 watt hours. Yeah, it does have a fair amount of power. It can power a lot of devices. So for example, a pretty classic device that you're going to want to use a power station on is like a CPAP machine. And for something like that that's a very low power draw, 15 watts, for example, that'll last a fairly long time. And especially if you're in a location where you have a lot of power outages and you need that CPAP machine to work all night, this power station should have enough capacity to get you through those power outages at night, no problem. And regarding, what else you can charge up, it really depends on the power draw and how many times you want to charge it. This power station, can work with a lot of different devices depending upon how much power you're drawing. So with that, I'm going to conclude my video here on the CTOLITY AP400 portable power station. I will have a review on this guy here that you've seen. This is their 12 volt LFP battery. This one has 1280 watt hours. It's going to be reviewed in a future video, probably coming out in about a month, and I'll do my standard capacity test on this one as well, and we'll run through its battery test. But if you're wondering about other products from this company, I do have their LFP battery, and we'll be reviewing that in a future video. Regarding this guy, this will be linked down in the video description. If you want the current price on that, just click the link. The prices do change. There might be a coupon code down there. Also, for power stations of this size and capacity, I think it's a pretty good value in 2026. Most of the other ones around this size and capacity are quite a bit more in price. So, if you want to consider price as a function of value in terms of what you get, I think this is a pretty good value. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Got any questions, comments, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.